Hi, I'm Gabriella and I play the drums.
Hi, it's Owen here. I play bass guitar.
Hi, I'm George and I play rhythm guitar.
Hi, I'm CJ. I play lead guitar and sing in the band Change Persona. I started playing guitar when I was about 11 years old, I believe, 11 or 12. I remember my dad bought me a half-size classical acoustic guitar, with the nylon strings, and I just learned some chords on that. He actually plays guitar, so I think he might have wanted it to run in the family. But yeah, it was my first guitar and the first time I ever played guitar.
So I started learning guitar in 2008, so 12 years ago now. I was in high school at the time, absolutely loved rock music, absolutely loved punk music, really wanted to be able to create music myself and play an instrument. So my friend at the time lived next door to a guitar teacher who basically passed on my details, had a few taster lessons and never looked back from them really. I even passed on his details to Owen after, who I think had some lessons with him too. So that's how it started for me anyway.
I've been playing bass now for around 11 or 12 years. Me and George started around the same time just for the purpose of joining a band, being in a part of a band. We had the same teacher to start off with. He's a really good guitar and bass player, and picking up an instrument has been probably one of the best things I've ever done in my life, and I've never looked back.
I started playing the drums when I was 10 years old, so I've been playing for 17 years now, and I love it.
So I actually came up with the band name Change Persona when I wasn't even trying to think of a name for the band. I was trying to write a song at the time, and it was basically about how people have these kind of personalities they put on that aren't real or true to themselves, and they basically change who they are depending on who they're around to try and get a reaction out of them, to try and get what they want, to manipulate people. So yeah, a persona in terms of acting and theatre or film is like a stage character that you put on and that you portray. And Change Persona is basically saying it's a dig at those people who change who they are just to try and change the situation or manipulate the people they're around. So yeah, it was going to be a song name, but we had a load of awful band names that we kind of discussed already that weren't very good at all. And I was talking to Connor at the time and I said, oh, hang on, what about the name of that song? Why don't we use that for the band instead? Why can't that be the band name? And it stuck, and I'm glad it did, because the other kind of band names that were in the pipeline at the time were awful, so I'm glad that it worked out the way it did in the end.
Inspiration goes from bands like Rancid and Rise Against and Bad Religion, Minor Threat, stuff like that. Then it can also go to like rock legends like Green Day and Foo Fighters, so Sum 41. So there's quite a few bands that do influence what we do.
My biggest influences, I would say, is probably quite evident in our music. First one would be Green Day. Just an absolute punk heavyweight. They've been around for years. Listened to them growing up, still listen to them now. Absolutely love them. My favourite band I'd probably say is a band called 4 Year Strong, who are just that perfect mix of being heavy and also having like a real punky edge. And they do some really clever stuff with the two kind of singers and guitarists, where they kind of alternate singing and kind of lead guitar between the two of them, which is pretty cool. Also Rise Against, another massive influence for us. A lot of their style and sound is probably one of the best in the game in terms of that kind of skate punk sound that they've got. So they're a huge influence, and I kind of listen to a lot of other bands like the Swellers and other punk bands like that. So they're probably my top few, I'd say.
Okay, so when it comes to what we do, I'd say my main influences would be Anti-Flag, Rancid and Rise Against. Some of my other favourite punk bands would be Pennywise, Gallows, Minor Threat and The Exploited, just to name a few.
My inspiration would be Alex Shelnut from A Day to Remember. I think he's an incredible drummer, and I love his technique and the way he plays, so I really want to be just like him.
Out of all the songs on the album, I'd have to say Path to Be Verified is my favourite on it. I just love the sort of pure, raw punk rock energy, like very fast paced as well. I just really enjoy listening to that sort of punk music as well. I just love the feeling of that song.
favourite song on the album is actually quite a hard one. I'd say in terms of playing live, it'd probably be Out of Line, because I feel it's a really kind of big, energetic song live that you can kind of give a bit of gusto on stage. But in terms of listening to the actual album itself, I'll probably say Mainstream of Our Youth. It's probably the kind of most catchy one, hence why we kind of went for that with the music video and the kind of lead single on the album. So yeah, I've kind of cheated and given one for live performance and one for listening to, so hope that's okay.
So favourite songs on the album would be Where's My Big Man, Path to Be Verified and Stain. It'll be a choice between those. I usually prefer the faster and heavier songs. To play live, one of my favourites is probably Out of Line, just because there's some more interesting parts that I got to play around with when we first wrote the song. So those would be my top 4.
My favourite song on the album, it depends on the day really. It's usually Where's My Big Man or Out of Line. It differs between the two. They're both great songs. I love them so much.
I missed a question out. So touring, I mean, everyone wants to tour with their favourite bands, of course, you know. But realistically, to be fair, I would tour with anyone, as long as, you know, we're all playing good music and we don't bite each other's heads off.
For this one, I'm just going to cheat and say the same bands that are on my answers for the favourite bands question, but Green Day, 100%. Yeah, any of those, Rise Against, The Swellers, 4 Year Strong, any of those. But I suppose in terms of like real world scenarios and what would actually be possible, we're really close with Plague UK and Jack and Sally, who are basically 2 other London-based punk bands that you should definitely check out. But yeah, we gig with them a lot now. Get along with both of those 2 bands, like House on Fire. Absolutely great bunch of guys in both bands that are just really cool musicians, really cool people. So yeah, my realistic answer would be a little mini tour with Plague UK and Jack and Sally.
So there's loads of bands that I would love to tour with, so many, but if I was to choose a top 2, I mentioned them earlier, Rancid and Anti-Flag. That would just be the dream to play with those guys. That'd be amazing. I'd also love to do a tour with NoFX, but we might not come back alive from that.
The band I would love to tour with is obviously my favourite band, A Day to Remember. If I could tour with them, that would be it. I would be so happy.